true, false, or somewhere in between, critically sifting facts, lies, and propaganda in today's media landscape. Fake or sensationalistic news is by no means a new phenomenon. Among the most well-documented distortion of the facts of a current event in the U.S. dates to the end of the 19th century, coverage of Spain's treatment of Cuba and the run-up to the Spanish-American War by William Randolph Hearst's New York Journal. As you're aware, today's media environment is much different, since news is almost always instantly available and shareable. Nor do those who want to disseminate information need a fortune the size of Mr. Hearst and his publishing empire. Almost anyone with internet access can develop a blog, can produce a video without fact-checking or an editorial process of any kind. In this tutorial, we discuss the three main drivers of fake news content: satire, the desire to influence public opinion, and the generation of ad revenue. One common reason that false stories are created is to satirize powerful people, celebrities, and current affairs. Satire pokes fun with a purpose, and humans have been engaged in satire since at least Horace's writing around 35 BC. In the case of this Onion article, the writers make a joke directed at the often confusing mess of false and unsubstantiated information available online. In recent years, there's been a resurgence of both false and misleading, highly opinionated articles on the web that are passed off as news, although those who create fake news often do so for more than one reason. Many try to influence public opinion on a person, a policy, an event, or another news story. Fake news spends a lot of time targeting individuals. One reason is because it's easier to get attention with a personal attack rather than offering a complex analysis of policy points or a thoughtful discussion of the reasons for a person's beliefs. Another way some websites skew information toward false news is to offer misleading headlines. Often there's some truth offered in these articles, but the headlines purposely paint the individuals in the worst possible light. In the case of this headline, we have to ask ourselves, is it necessarily wrong that a policy briefing would contain maps and graphs of statistics? Another common tactic is to use a headline as a sly attempt to put an idea into the heads of those who view it. Is this really an article related to health and medicine? This looks far more like a political commentary rather than a scientific discussion of mental health issues. Probably the most common reason for fake news is a desire to attract advertising revenue. Every time a curious reader clicks on a story, and the longer that reader stays on a site, the more a website can potentially charge companies for advertisements on that site. Certain nations, like Macedonia, have earned a reputation for being hotbeds of false news. Savvy fake news producers target their content, knowing that when a story matches our own opinions, it's more likely to be believed and shared with friends on social media accounts. The more sensationalistic a story is, the more it's likely to be seen as clickbait. And regardless of the content, the goal is always the same: to bring more eyeballs to a website for financial gain. For the record, these young people are jumping into a $2 million pool in Springdale, Utah. Fake news received a lot of coverage from traditional, sometimes called legacy news organizations in 2016, because a lot of content targeted voters about the presidential election. The extent to which it affected the outcome will be discussed for years to come. In the meantime, fake news creators continue to target national elections in other countries. Some of that fake news favors some candidates over others as they attempt to influence voters. In some instances, those who produce false and misleading stories do so with state-sponsored support, such as this woman who works for a news service funded by the Russian government. So keep in mind, the three main drivers of fake news Our satire, efforts to influence public opinion, and to generate clicks for ad revenue. In the next 2 tutorials, we'll discuss how to identify fake news and then examine why fake news matters. Thank you for viewing this Howler tutorial.